Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Om, Shiva Hum, Om. Welcome to another satsang with your host, Chuck the Yogi from the Yogi Cave. We are about to hit the third pada, and I am excited. I've been working on this for a year and a half, and I'm finally getting there. So let's go. Where was we? Here we go. So, 2.54. Sva Vishaya Asamprayoge Chitasya Svarupa Anakara Iva Indriyanam Pratyaharaha. Sense withdrawal is the imitation, as it were, of the own form of consciousness on the part of the sense organs by disuniting themselves from their objects. So that's just a very technical way of saying that you are withdrawing yourself, this little self, from the bridges to what we call the outside world, or the construct. So sense withdrawal is a prerequisite to achieve the other states in yoga. So anyway, 2.55, Tataha Parama Vashyata Indriyanam. Hence results the supreme obedience of the sense organs. So, in order for a yogi to be a yogi, he has to be able to be a master of the sense organs. Another word or term could be, like I said before, Swami, or Swami, which means master of self. Now, to master self, you must be able to master your sense organs, because it's your sense organs that can get you into trouble as much as they can help you out, get you through the labyrinth that is this construct. It can also get you in trouble with alluring things that are presented to the senses. So to the extent that the yogi or yogini can withdraw his senses and master that, is to the extent he can overcome, or she, those obstacles, those lures, those fishhooks that keep us bound to the construct. Anyway, with that being said, let us get on to pada number 3. Vibhuti pada. So 3.1, Desha Bandash Chitasya Dharana. Concentration is the binding of consciousness to a single spot. And again, this is just one of those prerequisites in order for the yogi to enter into the deeper states that lead to samadhi. One-pointedness, sense withdrawal, and then one-pointedness is our prerequisites to be able to withdraw your senses from the myriad of forms that can bind you, lead you astray, allure you, occupy you, etc. And then being able to achieve one-pointedness as you withdraw. Because what's the point, right? Pun intended, of withdrawing the senses if you're all over the place up in your head, jumping from one thought to the other. So you have to be able to withdraw the senses, and then you have to focus like a laser beam on a single point. So these, again, Patanjali being who he is, he's breaking all these things down to make them very understandable. Anyway, 3.2, Tatra Pratyaya Ekatanata Dhyanam. The one directionality of the presented ideas with regard to that object of concentration is meditative absorption. So, again, going back to this idea of props, right? And in Tantra especially, you have lots of props. They can be geometric images or yantras. They can be images made in stone or wood or what have you. They can be in audible form, in the form of a mantra, right? There's all these different props, right? To be able to withdraw the senses and allow them to focus on a single point. And these preludes move you, if you're successful, into what is called absorption, right? Not the full samadhi, right? That's the goal, but absorption. In other words, to be in a state of one-pointedness, to be fully absorbed, and that state of one-pointedness is a prelude to these other more advanced stages in yoga. And props are used to get there, right? Now people cling to these props, just like Ramakrishna did, and his Babaji, his Guruji, was able to help him extricate himself from those props that he had completely fallen in love with, but it took a lot of time and effort to reach that point where he could do that. Well, we're not getting there yet. We're just talking about the basics here. Anyway, 3.3 Tadeva Artha Matra Nilbha Samsvarupa Shunya Eva Samadhi. The consciousness, that consciousness, when shining forth as the object only, as if empty of its essence, is ecstasy or samadhi. So what he's saying is that meditative absorption is the foundation to achieve samadhi. It is not samadhi, but without meditative absorption, you cannot achieve a state of samadhi. So the idea of meditative absorption, withdrawing the senses, focusing on a point, and so forth and so on, and achieving that meditative absorption is to serve as a foundation for what may become samadhi. And ultimate, again, samadhi being the ultimate goal of yoga, right? 3.4 Trayam ekatra samyamaha. The three practiced together on the same object represents constraint. So again, concentration, meditative absorption, and ecstasy. So you can see it as concentration, meditative absorption, ecstasy, right? And these three represent constraint, or svami, control of self. Now, this isn't achieved immediately. You focus on concentration and meditative absorption. Concentration leads to meditative absorption, which eventually, in synergy, can lead to samadhi, right? So this isn't achieved all at once, unless the yogi is particularly skillful or has had previous experience, either in this life or previous lives. But what Patanjali is doing is that he's breaking this down into its component parts. Patanjali is like a great mechanic that is tearing up this car called yoga and is showing you each and every single component of that car and telling you, what is this for? What is that for? What happens if you don't do this? What happens if you don't do that? That sort of thing. So this is Patanjali's role as he explains, as he moves forward, as he explores this Yoga Sutra of his. Let's see one more. 3.5 Tajjayat Prajna Alokaha. Through mastery of that practice of constraint, there ensues the flashing forth of transcendental insight. So again, it is this trinity of concentration, meditative absorption, and samadhi that allows the yogini to achieve insight. Insight into what? Well, insight into why is he here, the fundamentals of life, or insight into anything that the yogin or yogini decides to focus on, right? But he has to be able to achieve that Trinity first in order for that to synergize into what the yogi, what Patanjali calls insight. So, again, I'm not getting into that too deep, but at least you understand, you're beginning to see the components that lead to these higher states. So, anyway, we'll leave it there. Om Namo Narayana, Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva Om, Shivoham, Jai Ma, Jai Mahaka, Om. Till next time.